Very good afternoon to you. Well, this is Politics Unscripted, the segment of the show, the talking point, and the people we're talking to. You're about to see them now. It's all about politics as parties ramp up last-minute efforts to sway voters in their favor. Many people doubt they will see change in their communities and neighborhoods anytime soon, but two new small political parties respectively believe they have the plans to effect change. Joining us now to explain their positions is ActionSA leader, that's Herman Mashaba, and Patriotic Alliance Deputy President Kenny Kunene. Gentlemen, my thanks to you both for making the time to come through to studio. Can I start off with this pressing question around load shedding, Mr. Mashaba? You were the mayor of Johannesburg for at least 3 years before you resigned. Do you think the city of Johannesburg has the capacity to provide residents of this world-class African city with uninterrupted electricity? Is it possible?
Let me first thank you very much, Xoli and Newzroom, for giving us as ActionSA the opportunity. And I think, let me please correct you, and I can't speak for my friend, Mr. Kunene. ActionSA is not a small party. We're a new party. I think let's really clarify that. Please, I think it's important to recognize that.
I take that on board.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, the city of Johannesburg right now, the structure of the city and the management thereof, as long as we've got national government failing ESCOM at this rate and allowing the city of Johannesburg to exclusively get power from ESCOM, unfortunately, this system is not going to work. Because at the moment, we're getting roughly, 10-15% of our electricity from Kelvin substation. And unfortunately, when we took over as a multi-party government in 2016, ESCOM started withdrawing our subsidies to capacitate Kelvin substation immediately. The 1.2 billion rand.
How big is this Kelvin substation? Because on the one hand, the city power says it's firstly private, as in perhaps it doesn't belong to ESCOM. So how big is it, and would it be capacitated enough to feed or to provide the entire Johannesburg?
The thing is, the national legislative framework does not allow private companies to capacitate. There are companies in this country that can take over and obviously put in money behind it without the city or national government capacitating it. But unfortunately, national government, because obviously ESCOM, it's a good opportunity for them to loot state resources. So I was having massive problems. In fact, one of the first attacks I received from the ANC when I took over power was the withdrawal of 1.2 billion rands over 3 years of subsidy towards capacitation of Kelvin substation.
All right.
With immediate effect. So unfortunately, we're sitting with a problem with national government that is not focused on service delivery, but every opportunity that they see where there's a tender or service to be provided, they've got to really be stealing in that arrangement.
All right. I need to come to Mr. Kunene in a moment. Very briefly for me. So what you're telling us is the city of Johannesburg standing up and saying it's going to take legal action against ESCOM if the people of Johannesburg are plunged into darkness. Basically, what they're selling us is a pipe dream. Is that what you're saying?
It's delusional. I mean that's unfortunately the ANC. It's a delusional organization. I think their criminality. I don't know if you've studied criminals. The criminal mind is not stable, and unfortunately, they cannot really differentiate between right and wrong any longer. Honestly, it's in their DNA. They can't differentiate. They lying to them. It's secondary.
Mr. Mashaba,
don't laugh.
They're not here to defend themselves.
No, that's fine. So that's okay. I'm happy to have this discussion with them.
I wish I'd invited the current mayor. Mr. Kunene, what do you think will sort out the problems of electricity, at least in Johannesburg?
Thank you, Xoli, for having me. And I also agree we are not a small party. We are contesting 114 municipalities in the country. out of 257. So we are certainly not a small
So I
party.
need to swallow my words yet again.
Yes, please. Just for the record.
No, look, I think it's not your mistake, Xoli. It's a narrative.
I think I know where you're going with this, because the DA has been harping on about even doing adverts. So we're going to come to that. Give it a chance. We're going to come to that. Mr. Kunene.
I think, the issue of electricity starts with national government. Eskom is the supplier of electricity. But it's just one of those problems. Every problem in this country can be sorted out, can be solved, if we manage the public purse properly.
Yeah.
If we appoint the right people to the companies of the state, state-owned entities, if we begin to make sure that we account for every cent that is spent, then we will be able to give our people a proper service. You look at City Power. City Power has changed CEOs, I don't know how many, in the space of less than a year. You cannot stabilize an entity if the leadership that is supposed to guide it, there's no stability there. So what we need to do to solve the problems of load shedding and every other problem is to vote the ANC out of power and to make sure that we bring in fresh minds like the Patriotic Alliance, so that we can then begin to make sure that the state-owned entities, and in this instance Eskom, is properly functional for the benefit of our people. And I must add, Xoli, one of the newspapers reported yesterday that between 2004 and 2016, I think, 1.5 trillion was stolen to corruption. It was lost to corruption in this country. Now, the head of the SIU said a few months ago, they have never seen corruption at this scale that they are seeing it now under the presidency of Ramaphosa. So which means we could have lost between 2018 and now we could have lost 2 trillion or 2.5 trillion. Now, if you look at the money that is lost to corruption and what it could do for our people, you will realize that the only way to solve our problems and truly solve them is to take the ANC out of power so that we can begin to put people who understand how to manage the public purse.
I don't think there's any doubt in any South African's mind, Mr. Kunene, as to the money that goes to waste year after year, the kind of work it would do to alleviate the kind of poverty that we see on a daily basis. We're going to come to perceptions, because one of the papers today talks about perceptions. In fact, it's a front page story in the City Press where they list how each leader of a certain party, well, at least the parties that they've chosen, is perceived in society, and why that party may possibly have a chance at governing municipalities versus another which has a problem of corruption. Anyway, let's come back to why you're here. We are at the final stages of an election campaign, Mr. Mashaba. The key message that you think you have left in the minds of residents wherever you have campaigned, what is it that you think people are going to remember about ActionSA as they go to the voting booth on November 1?
Well, I think we're the first party to launch our manifesto, and I think I was really very clear around issues that we stand for. We stand against corruption, being public enemy number one. For the last 27 years, corruption has robbed our people of their dignity because our infrastructure has collapsed. Unemployment is a huge problem, caused by COSATU. It's actually quite sad that we have government in the country destroying jobs. 40% of our people today, 44%, 12 million South Africans, 74% of our youth are unemployed. When I grew up, people who did not work were those who did not want to work. You know, for us, when I was at school, from the age of 14 upwards, for at school, university. When weekends or during school holidays, we'll always find employment opportunities. Yeah. That's why the National Party actually had what they call Lofferskap. I'm sure obviously it's before your time. We used to be arrested. Police would come into the townships, villages during the week, arrest people who did not work. South Africa was short of manpower. And then 1994 came. COSATU started destroying particularly small black businesses in the townships. They opened our borders and allowed everyone to come in, getting South Africa to be a dumping place of expired counterfeit goods, allowed drugs to come into our communities so that our communities can be destroyed. Yeah. They destroyed the education. Once you put a nation in that environment, they've got a Soviet Union type of mentality. Communism is based around control of human beings. And to control them, you've got to take away their dignity. And that's something that we as ActionSA, we are saying, no, this is unacceptable. Right. We've got to really close our borders so that people of the world, they must come into this country, come and invest, come and enjoy this beautiful country of ours. Yeah. But they must come here legally. And when they're here, they must respect our laws and invest in our communities, employ our people. Anyone else, as per the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, like any other country in the world, those who are here for criminal intent, they've got to really be sent back to where they came from. Because South Africa is not going to be the country that failed governments outsource their problems to us.
All right. Mr. Mashaba, what seems to come out strongly is the stand against corruption and illegal migrants that are in the country. At least that's what I'm picking up. Let's come to the Patriotic Alliance. What is it that you think is going to be memorable for people as they go to the voting booths on November 1?
Number one, the message that we are bringing God back to schools. When the ANC took over in 1994, they removed God in schools. Number two, we will reduce crime. Our fight against crime.
Sorry, did you just say when the ANC came into power, they removed
God from schools? Which means that...
How do you know that?
No, I can back that up.
It's in the Constitution.
No,
it's in the Constitution.
No,
you can't teach a Bible or Quran in schools. You can't teach.
Okay.
That is why there's no religion that is being taught. So the ANC government has taken God out of schools. That is why contact crime. That is why rape, murder is at its highest. That is why our young people have no respect for adults. Because they don't know the basic principles that you and I, Xolani, grew up with. Respect your father and your mother so that your days may be numbered.
Okay.
They don't know those things. So that's the first message that came out very clearly. Our commitment to fighting crime. Myself and the president fought crime in prison. We were criminals, we were imprisoned, but after years of rehabilitation, we exposed the biggest expose in the world of warders bringing guns into prison, of warders selling young boys to older inmates for as little as 10 rands to rape them, warders bringing in drugs in prisons. We fought against crime right inside prison at a great risk to our lives. Number three, the creation of jobs. For us, it is very much critical that to solve the problems of this country also and to improve our economy, we need to create jobs. Okay. Number four, we are going to zero overdue municipal rates, debts. Everyone that owes the municipality in the municipalities that we are going to govern, we are going to wipe off their debt. Yeah. We are starting at
zero. That's a massive commitment. And
we are starting at zero.
Maybe we should stop right there. Let me saying that all of these things are...
Last one. Yes. Last one. The message that also came out very clearly is that all illegal immigrants, all illegal foreigners must leave this country. Wherever we are going to govern, we are going to make sure that we take them back home. Obviously, we will work with national government. We know that there's no political will from their side to do it, but we'll use every means, legal means, to force them to implement the getting rid, the deportation of of illegal immigrants.
All right.
And service delivery, of course.
All right. Let's pause there, gentlemen, because when we return, I'd like to pick up on whether each of you sitting here, as per your party promises, you have played to your strengths. And I'll explain exactly what I mean when we return. You're watching Politics Unscripted, the segment of the show, The Talking Point. And my guests are ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba and Patriotic Alliance Deputy President Kenny Kunene. Gentlemen, I thank you very much for making the time. Mr. Mashaba, I want to pick up with you. You are a businessman, a respected one at that. Our country is going through a very difficult time of unemployment. During this local government election campaign, I'm sure you've met many people who are simply asking for a job. Do you think you've played enough to your strengths as a businessman? And that is to say, I will promise the creation of jobs, and this is how we're going to do it. Why haven't you played that card strongly enough?
Well, I played it significantly when I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, running a 7-way coalition arrangement with DA, who I was supposed to be representing, being the most difficult. I initiated what is today in this country known as the Inner City Rejuvenation Project. On the 1st of December 2016, during my 100 days in office, I had to give the residents the feedback of my 100 days of my observation. One of the issues I identified was to take back abandoned, hijacked, derelict buildings, offer them to the private sector to build affordable accommodation for our people. By the time I left in 3 years, we had already identified 600 properties. Yeah. We had already awarded to the private sector 154 of those buildings to the value of 32 billion rands.
But Mr.
To
Mashab,
create, no, let me,
Mr. Mashab,
to create 21,000 jobs.
Let me interrupt you, and I'm doing it deliberately. With the greatest of respect, you see, what you are doing right now, you take me back to your old days of the Democratic Alliance. And I don't think you want to sit here and talk about what you did under the Democratic Alliance banner. No. I don't think you want to do that.
No, so I did it as Herman Mashaba, as Herman Mashaba, leading a multi-party government, where 154 buildings to the value of 32 billion.
You were leading under the banner of the Democratic
Yes, but I was the leader of that government, where this project was going to yield 21,000 job opportunities, to create 14,000 jobs. Involved with it is the artisan training, where we can teach our people to be bricklayers, to be electricians and so forth. And that's something that we are saying to the residents of the city of Johannesburg. I've got unfinished business. There's 600 opportunities by that time that I've identified. give me the opportunity, we are going to proceed with this, that we don't have to rely on national government to create economic opportunities for our people and create jobs in the process.
All right, I think I can take that. You have unfinished business, and that's why you are running for mayor of Johannesburg again. Mr. Kunene, you've mentioned just moments ago, you are a reformed criminal. That's not something that you can easily own and wear as a badge, but you're here. Have you used that to your fullest potential as you've been campaigning under the banner of the Patriotic Alliance? Because we have a problem of children who are into drugs, who are into criminality. Have you told them that this is not something to be admired? You know, in townships, there are those who look at criminals because they have nice cars, they wear fancy techies. They think that the life of criminality is to be admired. Do you think you've done that enough?
Indeed, Xoli, in 2006, myself and the president of this party, Kenny Kunene, we went to schools all over the country, talking about the reality of imprisonment, of prison life. Some of those young people today are working. They're adults. Some have families. And wherever we go, they stop us and they tell us how that impacted on their choices going forward. We've done it during our campaigns. I think you would have seen that we are being assisted by other political parties because they call us a gangster party. They talk about us as ex-cons. So when we go to communities, the communities welcome us. And I actually tell them that they can call us ex-cons. At least we are from prison. And their vote must take us to the union buildings, because those who are in the union buildings are the in-cons. They will be going to prison from the union buildings when we take over. So we have, we do that not just during campaigning, at all times. We are a walking example wherever we are. Even some of the adults who are criminals, they come to us and they say, you are motivating us to get out of the life of crime. We have made it very clear that we are coming for drug dealers wherever we are governing. We are making it very clear that
so you see, that's the message.
Yes.
That's the message that I will remember if I were in your campaign rally. To say, we're coming for you, drug lords.
That message is very clear. It's very clear that we are not going to tolerate crime. That message is very clear, not just for in the communities, also in our governments, in our municipalities. We must begin to make sure that those who are charged with corruption don't go back to work. They must go and finish their cases.
All right.
So crime...
Pause for me there, Mr. Kunene. Pause for me there, because there's a sound bite that I would like to introduce at this moment. And it is of yourself. I'm not going to explain, because I think the bite itself is self-explanatory. What you are saying, if I were a young boy who admired a gangster, a local gangster, I think I would take your words very seriously, because you have been behind bars. You've seen it all, so to speak. But I want us to listen to this first, and then we're going to come back.
Predict that in the city of Joburg, PA will be the kingmakers. And that analysis is based on the results that happened during the by-elections in the colored communities. They don't know the work that we have already done in Soweto. They don't know the work that we have done in Alex, in Freedom Park, in Orange Farm. So even here, they don't know the work that we have done in Khayelitsha, in Gugulethu. We are contesting 35 wards out of 35 wards in Gugulethu, Khayelitsha, Langa, and Suguti. So all over the country, we have been working quietly in the so-called black areas, uniting our black brothers and sisters with our colored brothers and sisters. As you can see, this mix. I am black, he's colored. So we were destined by God together to unite our people so that they can be able to reach what they have dreamed for, what they have been promised to achieve.
All right. I was looking for a different soundbite, but we'll work with this one nonetheless. Your combination there with Gayton McKenzie, I think it makes for a powerful combination. But your messaging, what you're saying now versus what you say on those platforms, I don't think that is memorable to people.
Okay. That was a press conference, and obviously I was responding to what was being said. You have journalists in a press conference who would ask you questions. The president had already outlined what we are going to do. He was the one that was leading that conference. However, we are responding to questions together.
All right. Let me turn this discussion this way. You have held sushi parties.
Yes.
Where you would eat a sushi off a naked woman's body.
Yes.
That's denigrating a female body. You have been associated with news websites that are not necessarily peddling the right information. I don't know whether you will agree. You're welcome to take me on or to disagree if you like. Those kinds of activities, though, Mr. Kunene, they no doubt are not going to endear you to the South African public. Why should the people trust you knowing what you have gone through, but you have come out of prison and you still went and did these things, such as eating a sushi off a woman's body?
Let me start with the one of a news publication. It's a lie. You know that it's a lie. This news publication has been there from 2016. And nobody has taken us anywhere about peddling news. We have never apologized for any exclusive stories or any stories that we have done. Reuters has given us news. They have wired news to us. ANA has wired news to us. The Reuters that wires news to all these others.
You're talking about Reuters,
yes,
the international cable network.
Yes. They have wired news to us, even international news. Then nobody called us a fake news publication. So I'm just saying for the record. Okay. But let's deal with this one that other political parties also mentioned. You see, Nelson Mandela once said, the problem with you journalists and analysts, you want to think that your enemies must be the enemies of the people or our enemies. And I want to steal that and say, the problem with journalists and analysts is to think that what they deem as immoral and wrong, the general public also does so. I did not eat sushi of naked women in private. Those were models. I have explained this over and over again. And for you to ask me that question, when you brought me here to come and talk about our manifestos and what we are going to do for the people.
Politics is about perception.
Yes, and raising this issue. I don't have a problem, but I'm saying for you to raise it and say, why should people trust me? You must look at the numbers that were at our manifesto rally. You must look at the number of wards that we are contesting. You must look at the support, the pastors that have joined this party, men of God. It's people that believe in second chances. South Africans, unfortunately, don't harbor the past that the people did like you journalists.
So it's fair to say.
South Africans have given us a second chance.
Yeah.
We have proven ourselves. I paid the models. I did not steal money from government. I've never done a tender. I spent my own hard-earned money to celebrate my birthdays.
Yeah.
And I'm very much unapologetic about it. And by the way, I mention it when I address the people and they love it.
But if you're going to use the Bible as a stand of moral authority that in part drives the Patriotic Alliance, is it fair to assume that you don't do those kinds of birthdays anymore, those kinds of birthday celebrations anymore?
Yes, I don't. But you see, God in the Bible has never used anyone to lead his people who was as clean as you, Mr. Xoli. Moses was a murderer. Saul was a persecutor of Christians before God used him to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Before God used him. So God does not use clean people like yourselves. God uses people who have been through the trenches, who have done things, who have learned from their mistakes. God uses them to lead their people.
All right.
God put us in prison so that we can hate corruption, so that when we arrive at this destiny, we are able not to fail our people. That's why we call ourselves the last hope.
All right. I think we have spent a fair amount of time on you. It's only fair that we bring in Mr. Mashaba, but we are going to pick up with you, Mr. Mashaba, after this short break, because your party has lost a court case at the Electoral Court, and it's over your name, the appearance of your name on the ballot paper. What are you going to do to make sure that South Africans recognize you on that ballot paper? It's just some of what we're going to pick up on. This is Politics Unscripted. This is Politics Unscripted. The talking point is the segment of the show, and we are in discussion with the leader of ActionSA, Herman Mashaba, and Patriotic Alliance Deputy President Kenny Kunene. Mr. Mashaba, let's come to you. It is your turn. Your name, your party name, is no longer on the ballot paper. That has been confirmed now by the Electoral Court. You lost that case. How are you going to make yourselves visible enough? Or what is it that you're going to do for people to recognize you on the ballot paper?
Okay, Xoli, thank you very much. And I think, let me also correct you, please. I think as the media, you've got a very, very important role
Sure.
to play, because for any democracy to flourish and succeed, it'll need a fair and unbiased kind of reporting.
Sure.
The challenge with ActionSA and IEC does not really mean that ActionSA name is not going to be there. You've got two ballot papers.
Okay.
One for the ward councillor and one for the PR. For some strange reason, only the IEC can explain that, because the Electoral Court on Friday, when they made the pronouncement, they've not given us the reasons why they dismissed our application. But I just want to really make it clear to you and the listeners out there and all South African voters, because they are the ones who have been punished here, not us. But the PR ballot box has got our name and our logo. So there's no confusion there. So please,
Okay.
a lot of media people are not aware about this.
All right.
It is only on the ward ballot paper where, for some reason, the IEC reduced us to a logo. Only the IEC can explain this, because there is no way in law or in our constitution where they have the right to reduce us to a logo. However, what we are going to do is that we are not going to allow the IEC to frustrate and distract us from ensuring that we prepare ourselves for elections. I'm sure you're aware this morning we have already issued out a statement where we are going to spend this whole week on the ward councillor. They're fortunate enough, the PR, our name is there and the logo, so there's no conflict.
So how do you go about educating the public how to recognize you?
Already, if you look at on all our social media platforms, we are going to use every available medium from, we started already yesterday, where we are educating our people to when they go out and vote. In all the municipalities where we're going to contest, in all the VDs, we are asking people, please come to our table. We are going to really educate you so that you can see where to look for us, because you've got a name of your ward candidate in that particular ward. So we'll have tables at every voting station so that people are educated and be given the opportunity to really vote for the party of their choice. Because IEC has decided to reduce us to a level. But one thing for sure, we want the IEC to really know that we were not born yesterday.
Yeah.
We've dealt with criminality, we've dealt with all manner of sabotage throughout my life. I'm a 62-year-old. Dealt with vicious systems of apartheid, which said to me I couldn't go into business. I went into a manufacturing, created one of the biggest brands in this country during the dark days of this country's history. Yeah. So we will maneuver. People of this country, I'm assuring you, you are going to be able to really vote for ActionSA. We are going to educate you so that you understand where you must put your mark, because that here the whole idea was to try and really confuse us or delay us from making the necessary preparations. You can't play that with Herman Mashaba. You try somewhere else. Okay. Our people are going to be educated, and we're not going to, obviously, because I think here the plan is for us to appeal. But we can't appeal because the court have not really given us the reasons why they've dismissed our case. Yeah. So what we are saying is we want the elections to go on because we need to remove ANC. The ANC is a curse to this country. The sooner we remove the ANC democratically, the better. And that is what we are going to focus on.
I really need to ask this question before I come to Kenny. You have had the experience of running a coalition government. Until you resigned, you understood the pains of running such an arrangement. Now, recently, you've come out to say you are ruling out a coalition with the ANC. On what basis, firstly?
Because I'll never sleep with the devil. Tell me, they are going to a coalition.
Democratic Alliance would be a better deal.
Tell me, you can imagine if I'm going to a coalition with the ANC. Tell me, how am I going to deal with our corruption? Because ANC, over 90% of ANC people belong to jail, not in public office. So now tell me, must I protect them? No ways that Herman Mashaba will protect that.
Fair enough.
So I won't. And I'm actually quite concerned today. I see in the media where the DA is prepared to work with Cyril Ramaphosa's ANC. I'm concerned. And we were considering that DA might be a possibility in the event that the voters don't give us outright majority. And I'm warning DA voters that your vote, actually, you're voting for Cyril Ramaphosa and the corruption. And ANC has never been as corrupt under Cyril Ramaphosa than any other.
Does that rule out the Democratic Alliance?
We have to consider. We have to really honestly consider this, because if the DA, to give an example, when I was the executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg, I fired 4 MMCs, 3 of them from DA, and all 3 DAs ones that are fired on corruption, and DA was against me firing these people. Where one of them, I gave them an ultimatum. I said, if you don't want me to fire this person, then I'm resigning. In the 3 years that I've been in government, they always accuse me of giving into the EFF. In the 3 years that I've been in the coalition arrangement, EFF never came to me for a tender or discuss a tender. It's a fact, it's recorded. But I can't say that about the about the DA. The DA, the leadership coming to my house asking me to put them in touch with the officials. You know, this for me is of concern, and I'm warning DA voters. Helen Ziller, John Steenhuisen, they've made it clear that they are happy to work with the corrupt ANC government of Cyril Ramaphosa.
Mr. Kunene, the Patriotic Alliance
Yes.
in Gqeberha, which was previously Nelson Mandela, rather Port Elizabeth, you were in a coalition government there. I still believe you are part of it. It has been disastrous. It's been chaotic. So you're no longer part of it. Your experience of being in a coalition government, what has that been like?
I think using Gqeberha as an example is fair, but I would prefer to use the city of Joburg as an example because
you're closer
that's
to
where
it.
No, that's where we also stayed longer.
Okay.
In Gqeberha there was too much instability in Nelson Mandela Bay. The DA would agree to this, and once you are in power, they then turn around and say, no, this is what we are prepared to do. And then you would go with the ANC, which had EFF and other political parties, UDM. There was instability there, so we decided to stay out of it. But our experience with the one seat that we had and got into a coalition with the ANC in the city of Joburg is that departments can be corrected. Governance, good governance can be implemented. There is no political will. When you look at the department that we took, which is economic development and tourism, after we took over that department, there are 3 companies that fall under that department, which is Metro Trading Company, MTC, which owed the city over 2 billion. But with the short time that we have been there, with the people that have been appointed there during our time, they have started a process of being able to pay back that 2 billion to the city. Number 2, it was Joburg Fresh Produce Market. If you go and ask the traders there, the agents who trade, they will tell you that since Patriotic Alliance took over that department and people have been employed there, Joburg Market started working properly. The roads were fixed. Whatever that was not working got fixed. Joburg Market, as we speak, is the only company in the city of Joburg that is making money for the city. So it is very much profitable under the Patriotic Alliance leadership that was put there. Then let's go to JPC. Then you've got Joburg Property Company, which is why after 9 months the ANC decided to withdraw our councillor from the mayoral committee.
Okay.
I have to mention this, Xoli, because it speaks to my colleague here. Yes. Joburg Property Company, during the tenure of the ANC and DA under Herman Mashaba, the Auditor General flanks it as being technically insolvent every year. It takes money from the city. Yet Joburg Property Company is supposed to manage the buildings, the property, and the land on behalf of the city. They have signed leases with golf courses, with malls, where the malls, the buildings of big companies, where the golf courses are, that is the land of the city of Joburg. Yet Joburg Property Company has not collected rent on these 100-year, 60-year leases, even under Herman Mashaba. Number 2, in his book, I can show you the index.
Yeah.
He has mentioned all the companies except JPC.
Right.
Yet he talks about the corruption of Gautrain. Yet he does not mention that under him, Joburg Property Company has been technically insolvent.
All right.
If you look at the estimations, if you have to collect from all the malls, all the golf courses in the city of Joburg, including Sandton, Melrose Arc, everywhere, you would be able to subsidize our people, especially in the disadvantaged areas, for them not to pay for water.
He's going to have to respond. Let's pause there for a moment.
And by the way, he said the EFF has never told him anything to do. It is in the public domain that the fleet tender that was awarded during his tenure, which charged 40% above the market rate to manage the fleet of the city, it was under his tenure. The courts and the public protector said that was illegally awarded, And there were all sorts of things with that particular tender.
He's going to have to
By
respond
the way,
to that.
The informal settlements increased under his tenure in the city of Joburg because the EFF is the one that was pushing to put our people everywhere, even on wetlands. So he implemented the EFF's position.
All right.
The EFF is for all the illegal foreigners to come into this country.
Well, which talks to...
But he was in bed with them.
I'm going to have to deliberately
okay.
Cut you now because we have to take this break. Otherwise, I don't get paid. Mr. Mashaba, you're going to have to respond to this because it's what Helen Zille faulted you of, to say you listened or you paid too much attention to the EFF and not your caucus. But he's going to respond shortly after this. This is Politics Unscripted. I'm not going to do all this roundabout talking because Mr. Mashaba has lots to answer for. Let's start with the issues that surrounded you when you were mayor. There was a particular fleet contract. Those allegations, are they still very much wide open? I don't remember a conclusion to those.
Yeah, well, you can never really have a conclusion on a fictitious matter that just really come out on a day of council meeting. I've never known of a company called whatever it was. The first time I heard of this particular company, even up to today, I know the name. I don't know who the owners are. At the time, I was not even aware that the city's fleet contract was due for renewal. I had no. Yes, no, it's not. It's not a.
What you want?
No, it's not a.
Is that what you want residents of Johannesburg?
No,
me included.
No, absolutely.
In those residents
no, you can imagine.
To get you off the hook.
Oh, absolutely. As a please, you must really study the municipal systems and structural act. As the role of the executive is to give political direction, not to really get involved in tenders. That's why, please, you can't just you can't then on one point accuse me of getting involved in corruption
when it was
we know because
interference.
Of interference. Let me. I just want to answer to Mr. Kunene because he made such a profound statement earlier on about God and for him to repent, and I actually believed him at the time that he's learned the lesson. But I'm really totally surprised. Hardly half an hour later, he's really prepared to really lie to the
what
nation.
Have I lied about?
I can't believe it.
What have I lied about?
I actually I believe that no, he's a man that has really learned a lesson that when you deal with
what have I
about this particular contract about the Joburg market that is the only entity that's making money because under their arrangement. It's on public record how they put in corrupt the people to go and run the Joburg market. To talk about JPC being in a corrupt relationship. I mean, all these issues that is spoken about. And he knows, and he talks about the fleet contract that I was in bed with the EFF. He knows all this.
So basically, all that he has alleged, all that he's talking about, you're saying that it's not true and should be discussed.
No, and he knows it's far from the truth. And it's, that's why for me, it's really quite, it's quite surprising.
You're going to have to respond.
Xoli, Herman, the board that the PA put in at JPC suspended the CEO at JPC. There's 2 decades of corruption that has happened at JPC. The people who work there became whistleblowers. The CEO and the CFO were suspended.
Who are the corrupt people as per Mr. Mashaba's statements that you put in there?
There's no one who is corrupt that we put at JPC. We only put the board. We never put the CEO or the CFO. In fact,
what are you talking about,
after they got suspended, the CEO went to court. The court said, no, let the investigation happen. The city manager did an internal audit investigation, which found that 80 million disappeared, paid contractors for work not done. Then the board went to the SIU to investigate. The report of the SIU was very clear that the CEO and the CFO have to answer. However, the ANC took them back. They are back at JPC. But we'll deal with those after. So Mr. Mashaba knows. The question is, does the Auditor General flank JPC as being technically insolvent? Did he read that report during his tenure? Am I lying? Am I lying that JPC? Am I lying? Am I lying that JPC is not?
Gentlemen, this requires a whole show.
I've got 35 billion rands of corruption that I've discovered.
But you've been there 3 years. You've been there 3 years.
Yes.
You did not even take out buildings. Have still been hijacked by illegal foreigners. You did nothing, Mr. Mashaba. So you can't talk about illegal foreigners leaving this country. You can't talk about that because even the people that are funding you, they use illegal foreigners as cheap labor. So you cannot talk on the topic of illegal foreigners because you don't believe in it. You are talking it for politics. You had 3.5 years. And it's not 3 years. 3.5
Oh, it's interesting.
And the reason, that's very
and the reason he left, and the reason he left the city of
Can I ask you to just hang on 1 second?
All right.
If you're going to stand and say illegal foreigners should leave South Africa, and yet you are funded by people who employ illegal foreigners, Who are those people, please?
That's a discussion for another matter.
No, but you're a man of God.
They are not here.
But you're a man of God, and you must
be fair to him. Be fair.
You're a man of God.
We are finishing. I will tell it to you when we go out.
No,
it can't. You can't say it on record and not say it.
And you're a man of God.
Yes,
please. I thought you were a reformed person, but it looks like you're prepared to
you brought this matter into this discussion of the city of Joburg and what you have achieved. And I'm trying to show you that you have been fooling the people of South Africa, the people of the city of Joburg. You left the city of Joburg because you and your coalition employed over 4,000 people that was not budgeted for. You collapsed the city of Joburg.
We're digressing now.
All right.
Let me do this. Let me do this. I think if given a chance, after November 1, I think we're probably going to have another round. That's my inkling.
Yes.
We're going to pick up on this discussion somewhere, not in the Newzroom Afrika studios, but perhaps somewhere at The Rock. There's a place called The Rock. It's a results center. I suspect we might meet each other there. Yes. Very quickly, I have to ask you this question. You basically, the two of you, you attacked me here when I said you are smaller parties.
No, I just wanted to guide you.
Fine. I'll take that on the... You wanted to guide me. You are defined as smaller parties by John Steenhuisen, who is saying to South Africans, you're wasting your vote if you're going to be voting for either a new party, Herman Mashaba, or ActionSA, or Patriotic Alliance, because you are weakening the vote of the opposition. I suppose he means his party as the main opposition. Respond to him. Don't respond to me. He is the one who's been doing adverts saying a vote for smaller parties is a waste. Quickly, 5 seconds.
When you listened to Steenhuisen, he said that the DA is prepared to go into bed with the ANC. Now, there's an audio that have been posted on Twitter where Helen Zille echoed what Steenhuisen said. They call themselves a 20% party, so they see themselves as a small party.
Right.
PA is not a small party. We are here to take over. We are not here to be an opposition party. We are here to be in government and to direct the budget.
All right.
So that it addresses the issues of our people.
Very briefly.
Steenhuisen is a political man.
No political party of the size of DA that claim to be a big party anywhere in the world in political history has ever attacked a 1% political party, including spending millions of advertising a small 1% party. That means there must be something that the DA really owes to people of this country, because what the very concerned ActionSA is the biggest threat to them and the ANC.
All right. Gentlemen, my thanks to both of you. We're going to pick up, as I promised.
Yes.
I promise we're going to pick up on this discussion around.
I'll go in a coalition with him, though.
Thank you very much, Herman Mashaba and Kenny Kunene. Well, it has been a fruitful discussion. Let's wrap it up. When we continue, it's the editor's chat. I'll be talking to fellow colleagues about stories making headlines on some of the country's weekend newspapers. You're watching Politics Unscripted.